guys, what's up? We're not reviewing food today. We're talking about Better Call Saul.
That's right.
It's a react and review, or a recap, a react review.
Sure.
Something with R's in it. You may not know this about this guy right here, but he is a gigantic Breaking Bad fan.
I do. I love that show so much.
I would dare say his knowledge exceeds my own.
And there's so much more to that show than people think. It's like people are like, oh, it's just a show about a chemistry teacher who makes math. No, it's not a show just about clandestine chemists. You know, it's about transformation. He really breaks it down in the first episode.
This guy.
Yeah.
One day we'll go back and retroactively do a episode by episode Breaking Bad.
Sure.
But today we're here to talk about Better Call Saul. He's really good with character names. I'm not. I'm going to be like the fat guy, the skinny guy. I'm really good at remembering plot points and episode numbers. Your mind only works a certain way. So we're going to jump right into the first episode, entitled Uno. First episode, first shot is a black and white open of Saul working in a Cinnabon shop.
Classy.
He is making, it's not Dunkin' Donuts, but let's just say it. He's making the donuts.
Yeah.
The buns, and he's spotted by a man across the room, or he thinks he is, and is very uncomfortable because he thinks he's been outed.
Yeah.
We then cut to the guy going outside, Saul is relieved, and we transition to him being at home.
In his crappy little house. In Nebraska.
Sparsely furnished. No personal pictures, just a couch, a chair, and a TV. He goes to a box in the wall, very much reminiscent of the crawl space.
Yeah, oh yeah.
From Breaking Bad.
He looks disgusted and defeated by life.
He very much does. At that point, he pulls out a tape, puts it in the recorder, and the only color we get in the open is a reflection of the commercial in color in his glasses. To signify that was when his world had meaning, and that was when his world had color.
Yeah.
Now, my question for you on that opening scene. How long did it take you to realize that was happening in the present and that it wasn't a flashback or maybe a flash forward?
Well, as soon as the scene kept going on and they started showing like Cinnabons being made and it was in black and white, it really reminded me of what they did in like the first season of Breaking Bad, where they'd have like they'd give you kind of like the sneak peek and they'd go black and white and they'd kind of show like the teddy bear and the...
Right.
Yeah, so I was thinking it was going to be present day or future.
When they showed the hair,
yeah,
I was like, could be the future. Planes flying over.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of set the stage. There wasn't really, it was just to show you how far he had fallen maybe, because the last time we had seen him, he said he would end up in Nebraska managing, actually, a Cinnabon. It wasn't clear if he was manager yet in the black and white clip.
He'll get there.
Number two, the next part of the show, we jump back in time. He's at a trial. He's actually in the bathroom while the entire court waits on him. The trial is for 3 young men that he's doing free work for, public defender. Not really much to add to the plot. The joke is they cut off a corpse's head and had sex with it. Needless to say, he lost.
Yeah, I imagine so. There's just not much defending you can do for people who want to... No.
Anything you want to add to that scene?
No, it was funny. It was funny. It's kind of a twisted humor,
Then we jump ahead. Next scene, first meeting of Mike in the parking lot for the courthouse. Mike works in a booth. He's like a parking attendant. I did not see that coming. Well, I did see it coming because I've been watching the coming attractions for Better Call Saul, but if you told me that's how they would meet, I didn't see it. What'd you think?
I had seen the coming attraction, not the coming attractions, but like the trailers before the show came out, so I knew it was going to be there.
The one they show is actually for the next episode to us,
the
third episode where Mike beats his ass in a parking lot.
Yeah. Mike kind of looks like bored and defeated by life, too, sitting in that toll booth.
Very much so. Both of them are kind of... That's a good point.
Yeah.
From there, we go to the Loyola, hard word to say, diner, where Saul is meeting Betsy and Craig, trying to talk them into signing over to have him represent them. Good scene. You see how far down he is in life.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. As soon as the diner popped up, I was like, that looks really familiar. I wonder if it's the same diner. And sure enough, this is the diner where Mike and Lydia meet, season 5, episode 2. Where they don't have stevia.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't remember the episode and season, but It's also where Mike tried to talk sense to Jesse about Walt in one of the episodes. I didn't have that episode number, but that was it. Other than that, I felt very bad for Saul when Betsy dismissed him.
Yeah.
Very pitiful. Next, we jump ahead where we meet the two skaters. For the life of me, do they have names? The two redheaded skater dudes that I don't seem to name.
Is one of them named Daniel? No.
Maybe. I'm not the name guy, and I kept listening and searching, and I just couldn't find it. You see a point there when he first hits them where he has a mini break and he almost cries. He has a real moment where he can't believe he's hit bottom. But then true Saul form, he figures out that it's a complete scam.
Yeah.
It's just another building scene that kind of builds on how far down he is and yet how sharp he is. Anything to add to that one, sir?
No, nothing to add.
Next, we go see his crappy little law firm.
Gotta start somewhere.
In the back of a nail salon. And you made a very good point about the nail salon.
Oh, yeah. Where he's always trying to push that in Breaking Bad as a way to launder money.
Mm-hmm. So, even though they treat him badly, he uses the nail salon connection later on in life. At this point, he gets a $26,000 check, which he tears up with no explanation at that time.
Yeah.
Then, there's a little bit more in the way of explanation. He goes to the law offices. What is it? Hamlin, and...
I can't remember.
It's the law offices that Chuck, the person I believe is his brother. Do you have an opinion on who Chuck is?
It would make sense if it was his brother or his uncle or something.
There's a character named Chuck who he goes to the law offices to represent, and they're never clear. He just calls him Chuck. But they share the same last name.
Yeah.
I feel it's his brother because if someone's your father, you call them your father. If someone's your uncle, you call them your uncle. But many times you don't call someone who is your brother this.
Yeah,
you just call him Chuck or whatever. So that's my opinion. His brother, we're going to say for now, in like 2 years we could find out that we were horribly wrong. That's the beauty of doing this. For now we'll go with his brother Chuck. He goes there representing him, wanting a settlement because his brother helped found the law offices. He's 1/3 of this gigantic law office, worth about $17 million.
Which kind of reminds me of how Walter White got like screwed out of the black matter or the gray matter thing. So kind of reminiscent of that.
Very similar to Walter White being ousted from gray matter. His brother.
Well, then Walter White just quit, and then they screwed him over.
They screwed him over, but see, Chuck kind of is sitting this one out. But there's doubts about his brother's mental capacity. Chuck's mental capacity. Again, it's very nebulous. We're still in the first 2 episodes. He either has a real condition where electromagnetism bothers him, like cell phones, keys. What was the other thing he had to keep in the mailbox?
I don't know.
Phones, keys, weird things.
A watch.
A watch.
Yeah.
Can't have electricity in the house. The guy lives by gas lamp. And as of this moment, it's hinted that the people around him think he's crazy. The people to law offices think he's crazy. But you just don't know yet. Basically, they're not selling him out because Chuck thinks he can come back, even though Chuck is in a diminished capacity. All right, we're moving forward. We finally, after hearing about Chuck, we meet Chuck. One last thing before that. One of my favorite shots in that entire episode was very much foreshadowing. Before Saul goes in to have the meeting with these people and get shot down about getting the $17 million, right as he enters the building, there's a weird camera angle of a trash can with a dent in it.
Yeah.
Knowing how they do these things, knowing how Vince Gilligan's mind works, as soon as I saw that trash can, I was like, something will be there. After he gets shot down, he comes back out and he kicks the living shit out of that trash can. Much like Walter White with the hand dryer.
Yeah.
When he goes back and the dent is still there. This indicates that it's not the first time that Saul has gone in and been shot down and kicked the crap out of that trash can. We get another hint of that, again, that kind of thing in episode 2 we'll talk about when we get there. We meet Chuck. We kind of covered it. No electricity of any kind. You have to leave your watch, your phone, and keys.
The guy's kind of like
in the mailbox.
Reclusive. Yeah.
Reclusive. He's played by a gentleman that you guys may not know this about, Michael McKean. There was a show in the 70s called Laverne and Shirley, and he was Lenny of Lenny and Squiggy fame.
I don't know.
That's a fact.
Don't know what's going on there.
All right, moving along. Next, we end up back at the skate park, where we see a hint of the Saul Goodman we all know and love, as he sits down to tell the two skater punks the story of how he used to make money, Slippin' Jimmy style. One little bit of interest that I didn't pick up the first time I watched this, on second viewing, while they're waiting on Saul, well, they're not waiting on Saul, but before Saul gets there, they're making a video, and one of the brothers keeps telling the other one, it needs to be tighter. Tight, tight, tighter. Go back and watch. Which, to me, very much would be a happy accident to have the man known worldwide for saying, tight, 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 coming up. So, take from that what you will. They make a plan to con Craig and what I'm looking at Betsy. See, I can remember the name. Craig and Betsy into signing with them. If you're watching this, you've seen the episode, you know how this all goes down. Long story short, they end up with the wrong car.
Yeah.
And the episode ends with Saul facing down a gun held by one Tuco Salamanca. Is that how it's...
Salamancas.
Yes, there we go.
Or is it Telemancas?
I think it's Salamancas.
Yeah,
I always just called him Tuco. Going through my notes to see if we missed anything. Oh, here's one quick note I made right at the beginning. When Saul sits down changing channels before he goes and gets the tape, he hits 3 channels. The second channel he hits tells the story of the turtle that was carrying Machete's head. He's always Machete to me. Yeah, the guy with the vest and the tattoos. He's Machete. Telling a brief history of the turtle that, carried dude's head way back in Breaking Bad days. All right. We're getting better. It'll only take like every episode this season. That's episode 1. Nice shot.
Yeah.
Now, we're on to episode 2.
That's right.
Goes right into how it was that Tuco ended up with a gun in Saul's face. It tells it from Tuco's point of view, which I always love when shows do that, because from the other end of the episode we saw this.
Yeah.
Now we get to see Tuco. Very important point about Tuco. This is a different Tuco than the one from Breaking Bad. This Tuco is quiet, respectful, and calculating. He's not the methed out Tuco.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's scarier.
Methed out Tuco.
The Tuco in this episode still had the capability completely, well, I'll say it's much straighter, to cut people's tongues out or, gouge out their eye or take a lot of glee in breaking their legs. Sometimes when someone's in a diminished capacity, you can give them a pass and go, well, they were out of their mind.
That's a good point.
This guy clearly did all these things straight. So it's when you add the layer of like years of meth abuse on it later, super scary guy.
That's a good point.
All right. Here was a point that you had. When Saul's sitting down on the couch with Tuco, and Tuco says, just tell me what happened. You had a question right at that point. What was your question?
Why didn't he just tell him that he was trying to scam some people and he got the wrong people? Instead of going into this whole elaborate story about,
Why didn't he just come clean right there?
Yeah, that would have made more sense. I feel like as a criminal, maybe Tuco would have understood that better.
I've got 2 answers for that, I think. A, Saul's a lawyer. He's not wired to tell the truth.
That's
And
a good
B,
point.
he had a gun in his face and he was trying to take the simplest approach to get out. If you have a gun in your face, sometimes complicated stories don't work. And on its surface, Tuco was going into that carport to let those 2 dumbasses go until that guy opened his mouth. So it did work. That's the funny thing about this. Saul saved them twice. He had them saved there. Now, later on, he's going to have to go into the desert and save them again. There was a quote that we read from season 5 where Saul was complaining about always being in the desert. And at that point, it was funny because the first time we had seen Saul on Breaking Bad, he was in the desert with Jesse and Walt in a very similar situation to what he was in this. It was very reminiscent. In both cases, he talked his way out of a deep, dark hole in the desert. What did you think of that scene?
I thought it was good. Like, I really thought he was just going to leave him and let him die.
That was my thought. I thought maybe they were just going to leave him tied up and drive off.
Yeah.
I don't know if how far out they would have been or if that was good or not. But, yeah. From there, we did the wide reveal, and we saw... You picked it up first. We saw the two gentlemen that Tuco worked with on Breaking Bad. The guy whose name I never got, that was beaten to death.
Yeah.
That was nice foreshadowing there. The guy that Tuco beats to death, season 2, episode 1, for just always opening his mouth and talking at the wrong time, once again opens his mouth and talks at the wrong time.
He just adds something to it. He's not insulting Tuco.
Yeah, Tuco doesn't need to hear from him. Gonzo, the large guy, they got the same people too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess Gonzo, the large gentleman,
what's he doing?
He's waiting for the next Breaking Bad spinoff so he can appear again. I guess. But it was a nice touch to have the exact people. And really, out of Tuco and the henchmen, I thought No-Doz was like the guy that shined. He was pretty creepy. As the guy that was kind of an ancillary, there's a word for you, character on the Breaking Bad series. He really shined in this one. All right. Just a quick note on the end of it. Saul could have very easily left those two dudes to die.
Very easily.
Again, at crucial moments, you see that the guy does have a heart. He put his safety second to trying to save these two people. Now, granted, it was his fault they got in, but he already got them out once in the garage, and the guys talked themselves back in. So, still at his heart, Saul is a good guy just trying to get by, making maybe bad decisions. Maybe.
Depends.
Well, I guess ultimately, if you end up working at a Cinnabon in Nebraska, you make some bad decisions. No offense to anyone that ever watches this living in Nebraska working at a Cinnabon. Going through the notes. Now we're on to Saul in the bar. By the way, if you're wondering what the big fruity drink was, I don't know why I keep track of these things. The big fruity drink that his fine friend was enjoying was a Mai Tai.
A Mai Tai?
And back to the previous episode when we're in the black and white and he mixes a drink, that was a rusty nail.
That doesn't even sound good.
There you go. So there's your drink counter for the episodes, a rusty nail and a Mai Tai for the first two. He was watching the guy break breadsticks, and it took you and I the second breadstick to catch.
I have a random fun fact out of nowhere. I heard this on a podcast. There's actually a drink somewhere. It's called a pickled toe cocktail, where they put
Is there a real toe in it?
Yes, just look it up. It's strange. But anyway, keep going.
They ever drink that on the show, I'm out.
You're out? Is that too much? Is that too Ed Gein for you?
Very much so. We move along now. Ed Gein, nice pull. Saul was so disturbed by the breaking of the breadsticks and the memory of the broken legs, he went into the bathroom and vomited and then quickly got really drunk.
What a sissy.
He ended up at Chuck's house. Now, here's a part where, is it in Chuck's mind or not? Chuck started to feel really bad and kind of sensed that there was a phone there. Now, you could make the argument that Chuck knew that Saul was drunk and didn't take his phone out. But so he goes and fishes the phone out with some prongs and throws it out in the yard and wraps himself in an aluminum blanket and immediately feels better. So I say it's like 80-20 that Chuck's issues are legit. What do you think about that?
I don't know. He seems kooky.
Here's something we didn't touch on in the last episode, but it's a kind of like the trash can. After saving the kids, well, not really saving the kids, they went to jail for having sex with the corpse head. But he was defending 3 guys at once.
Which they should go to jail for that.
Yeah, I think they should do a little time, maybe a week or 2.
Hopefully they weren't sober.
Well,
during that.
Like Saul said, no one was actually hurt.
Yeah, that is a good point. Or would they just break obscenity laws? Those are ridiculous.
Well, I figure there's many laws of cutting off a corpse's head and having sex with it. But I digress.
Yeah.
Okay. When he goes back out to get paid, he gets paid $700. He was under the impression he was going to get $2,100, $700 per person. That only worked if he would have done 3 trials, but, whatever. So he gets mad, throws a fit, tells the lady at the desk for the public defender's office that she can go to hell and it'll be a cold day in hell before he comes back to this shitty operation.
Yeah.
Very subtle thing in the background behind her are stuffed animals. Bunch of stuffed animals. Cut to now, Saul needing money, goes to the very same office, holding a stuffed animal, and you put together the point that all the stuffed animals behind her the last time and this time come from him, and that apparently he's made this speech many times. Those are the little things about this show that I love that you watch it for. It's some shows you can watch with the TV on and be reading a book or on your computer. This show you really need to engage, watch, listen, pay attention, because there's so many things going at once. Any input there, sir?
I think the first episodes were going strong. I really like them. I was not disappointed one bit. There's not one point where I was like, oh, this sucks. I thought it was all great.
We talked during the second one. Like, the first one really felt like it was moving the show along. There was the extended scene in the desert in this one, which was as tense as anything I've seen since Breaking Bad. It's just tense.
It gets real.
Low budget from the standpoint of they're in a desert, there's no background, there's like 6 actors and a camera. It's friggin' awesome. But it didn't do much to move the plot along, or so we thought.
Yeah.
I told you while we were on the commercial break going into one of the last parts of the show that his being a lawyer and talking them down, I told you I think Tuco's going to hire him at some point soon. Now, little did we know that he'd be hearing from someone before the end of the episode. From this point, we go to a montage of him being a public defender. If you start counting the people he was doing at 700 a head, he made some pretty good money in that montage. Yeah. And I noticed it seemed like he went from being kind of schlubby to his clothes getting just a hair better as that montage went on. Gotta love a montage. We get to the end of episode 2. There's a knock at the door. It's a little old lady saying he has a customer. I could just jump to say it's No-Dose, but it wasn't. Anyway. So it's No-Dose from the desert coming back, wanting to know about the couple that Saul had originally put all of this in motion to rip off. Because No-Dose has a proposition. He tells Saul that he'll steal the $1.5 million, give him 10%. At which point Saul turns him down.
At the beginning, did you tell him what Betsy and Craig were guilty for?
No, I didn't mention it. Again, I assume that people that are watching this have known. But Betsy and Craig, originally, way back in episode 1, back in the old days, back in the day, were talking to Saul because they had been accused of
fraud or something.
Stealing $1.5 million. Craig was a treasurer, maybe for this city, but there was money missing, and they have it, as evidenced by the fact that there is a gigantic boat in Craig's yard.
Because that's what you want to do when you steal a large sum of money, is just go out and spend it immediately.
I believe Saul's exact words were, it was as subtle as a stripper pole in a mosque.
Yeah, it's classy.
I'm going to use that someday.
He makes so many, they make so many obscure references. They did, Hambry.
Quick, yeah. He quotes a lot of movies and a lot of music, and, even admittedly, a couple of them I didn't get. He quoted All That Jazz a couple times. I had to look it up. That's a 1970s Roy Scheider, the guy that fought Jaws movie, about Broadway.
Wow.
And then the episode before that, where he was quoting Network when he was in the boardroom yelling and screaming.
Oh.
So yeah, that's what we've got for this week. It'll be a lot easier when we have one episode to break down in 10 minutes or 12 minutes. We tried to rush along for 2. I'm going to put this up right now as is, and then as days go by, I'm going to edit out whatever doesn't work. Come back next week. We'll do better. Saul will do better. Until then, thanks for watching. Saul good. That's a close. Saul good, man.